Why do we crave emotional reciprocity? Now, 1 Corinthians 13, which I'll get to at the very end.
Maybe they don't forget about you, but they forget to remember you.
Part of me forgot that there's such thing as
Editing. I could just edit. It doesn't matter how long it takes me to try to figure something else. I can just edit it in. Regret is typically defined as a negative, cognitively determined emotion that we experience when realizing or imagining that our present situation would have been better had we acted differently.
Expectations just only lead to disappointment.
I got nuts in my mouth.
When I think of trust, it starts with, do you trust me enough to actually tell me what's wrong? Or do you trust me to pick up your implicit communication?
That absolute, that's not possible, that it's unlikely because they're a different person.
What the fuck is he doing?
Yeah.
It doesn't alleviate the worry, but it did get me to the point where I understood that
Reciprocity, which then eventually just got to trust, which now it's more hippopotamus. This is going to be an interesting one because I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to phrase this or how this is all going to get structured. I'm also hungry, so I'm going to have this half-melted acai bowl while I'm doing this. Why do we crave emotional reciprocity? Now, there is the one side that can be more romantic side. Like, why do we crave the duality of, and this applies to both men and women, the duality of this person, I want to be with this person romantically, but they are not as emotionally open as I want them to be, or they don't respond as much as I wish. They don't meet me to the standards that I have set to myself and that I expect out of other people. Now, this will tie to, this will definitely tie into a couple episodes and clips from today. I don't think I have a quote shirt, which I probably should. 1 Corinthians 13, which I'll get to at the very end. So this was supposed to be more platonic. I'm probably going to mix it in with romantic relationships. I'm not giving you like therapist advice. Do not take this as medical advice. I am not a trained professional. First thing, this is from Home Alone 2.
I was afraid of getting my heart broken again. You see, sometimes you can trust a person, and then when things are down, they forget about you.
Maybe they're just too busy. Maybe they don't forget about you, but they forget to remember you. I don't think people mean to forget. I think it just happens.
I didn't actually make this tangent. So in my, while I was watching that, I was like, hey, look, tangent. David Porter's second episode, which we'll get to a different part of the episode, but he also talked about in that episode, maybe it was actually the first episode, fair weather friends, people who are there at your best, but not there at your worst. When you want someone to be there, they're not there. And then when you don't really need them to be there, they are there. It's like the duality of desire. And what this is mostly going off of, which is not necessarily why do we crave emotional reciprocity, but more on the tangent of why do we crave selective emotional reciprocity? Not just I want someone to emotionally relate to me, but more on the side of I want someone I want to reciprocate. Not just anyone. I want this person to reciprocate this feeling with me. And also, I mean, that kind of comes to like self-fulfilled prophecies. You believe something and then you never actually happens because your expectation was unrealistic. That's one tangent I might get into a different video. But for this one, I don't want to get this wrong, but I also forgot to check. The first thing we're going to go into is Stephen Nolan's episode. Just for context, the life in Tennessee, his, I don't think it was his biological parents, but his role models, what do they call them? Caregivers? No, legal guardians. There we go. His legal guardians were always partying. They were like in the mid-30s and everything, but always partying. In that sense, that was his world. That's the world that he knew a lot about. And then when he moved to Massachusetts to live with his aunt and uncle, that was a different one. That was on a military base with a very disciplined family and in a community that was a whole lot different from the way he grew up. So this first part that he's going to talk about is how he didn't feel like it was partially. So what I asked was, did he feel alienated? And this is what he said.
I felt like I didn't belong because I was too different, Most of these, on the military installation, most of these kids they growing up in two-parent households and, with their actual biological parents and things of that nature. And I didn't have any of that. I never had any of that, They grew up under the structures and disciplines of, rules and things that their parents or they, instilled in them, and I didn't have that. Like, I was able to run loose when I was growing up in Memphis because, again, they were partying, So I didn't have that until I didn't have that discipline, or no one even trying to instill it until I moved with my auntie and uncle.
Side tangent. I'm happy that I got the thing right. He said Memphis. That means Memphis, Tennessee. I got it right. The next clip is about love, how he would define love. But the first thing I wanted to show you was this one. This is a study from 2011. Yeah, 2011. The impact of disappointment in decision-making, individual differences, and electrical neuroimaging. Now, there's a whole lot of context. This study was done with a adapted version of the Trust game, which is, it would be, just take a little bit, you know what, screw it. Let me pull it up.
Part of me forgot that there's such thing as
Editing. I could just edit, it doesn't matter how long it takes me to try to figure something else, I could just edit it in later. The Trust game is essentially this. 2 players participate, typically called the investor and the trustee. Both start with some amount of money, often $10 each. The investor decides how much of their $10 to send to the trustee, anywhere between $0 and $10, and whatever they send gets multiplied, typically tripled, by the experimenter. The trustee receives the multiplied amount and then decides how much to send back to the investor, anywhere from nothing to the full amount they received. The game reveals how much the investor trusts the trustee to reciprocate and how trustworthy or the amount of reciprocity the trustee actually is. So it's a game of trust. How much I give you this with the hope that you give it back. But there's also the understanding that it will never happen. And before I get to the actual results of the study and some of the things that they found, 2 different definitions, regret and disappointment. Regret is typically defined as a negative, cognitively determined emotion that we experience when realizing or imagining that our present situation would have been better had we acted differently. Disappointment is formally defined as proportional to the mismatch between the subject's expectation and the actual outcome. They tested about 32 people. When asked to evaluate their feelings after adverse, unexpected outcomes, the vast majority of the subjects spontaneously reported negative emotions, with disappointment being the prevalent one. Moreover, in a forced choice version of this question, they restated their answer by choosing disappointment over anger, betrayal, or regret. And what they found conclusively, consequently, support this assumption. Individuals more sensitive to disappointment adopt a more pessimistic view about the future. Their pessimistic views on the future, induced by prior experience, made them less effective in achieving their goals of maximizing gains. There's like the selfish aspect to it. It's like, I want something, someone else wants something else. There's a mismatch. Again, selective emotional, whatchamacallit? What's this? I forgot what this title of the thing is. Selective emotional reciprocity. It's the weird dynamic of grief and disappointment, where on one hand you're sad that it didn't work out the way you wanted it to, but at the same time it's also really invigorating. It's very invigorating, not the right word. It's very, dare I say, beautiful, that you opened up and you realize someone wasn't the way you thought they were, and then you have this like whole other viewpoint of, holy flip, this is how the world works, and this, like, from this person, like, you learn so much more about the world. Why not? So anyways, I forgot what this next clip is about. So I put all these clips together, assuming like, oh, hey, this is how I'm going to talk about it. And now that I'm actually talking about it, my mind's going on other tangents. So I'm going to get to this clip. How would you define love?
It's just a genuine expression. I don't describe love as words. As far as like saying I love you and all those things, I believe in the showing. I believe it's an expression. So
it's more of an actual.
It's an action. Yes. Like you show me. You can. Like you demonstrate love. You don't speak love. If that makes sense. So that, to me, that's what it is.
Yeah. I was thinking about this last night, actually, before I was going to sleep. So the way I see it is that there's like 3 kinds of people. There's those who will say they do something and never do it. The ones who say they're going to do it and they get it done. And the people who don't say they're going to do anything and then they get it done. Which is like a progression of actionable things to do. I never trust the people who say they're going to do something and never do it. Or say they're going to do something and never do it. But the ones who never said that they're going to do it and still do it anyways, like a whole value difference.
Yeah. So that comes down to like expectations, right? Of people, of others or whatnot. And one thing I don't do is I don't expect anything from anybody. I don't have expectations. I just don't. And it's because we truly only can control ourselves, right? I'm not in control of no one. You're not in control of anyone. You're only in control of yourself. So to expect things out of expectations just only lead to disappointment as well.
Apparently, the way I was thinking of structuring this is that clip plays and then I get into this study, but I did that backwards. Anyways, I'm not going to backtrack on that. I'm just going to let it go the way it is. It's usually not necessarily the separation of two different minds, but rather the synergy of both. Will Simpkins, Emily Lefebvre, actually probably most of the people in my podcast, low expectations, high standards. Stephen Nolan was like, no expectations. I do not expect anything from this person. I don't expect anything from other people. I just want, and he says this a little bit later in the episode, he just wants to be a resource. But on this topic, selective emotional reciprocity, it comes down to trust.
Do I trust you?
There's two ways of looking at this. There's the perspective of being the one who wants the reciprocity, like you are going through something emotional. Oh, do I have? Yeah, shared sorrows. That was the quote I was looking for. Oscar Wilde. I don't know if I had that shirt. 1 second. I swear I do have this shirt, but I don't know where it went. Sorry, I got
nuts in my mouth.
From the acai bowl.
Okay, I'm a walking HR violation.
I can be perfectly happy by myself. But if, after I am free, a friend of mine had a sorrow and refused to allow me to share it, I should feel it most bitterly. He who can look at the loveliness of the world and share its sorrow, and realize something of the wonder of both, is in immediate contact with divine things, and has got as near to God's secret as anyone can get. I don't really have any thoughts on that. Next clip, the cool thing is when you get to someone who's studied something at a professional level, whether it's Dave being jiu-jitsu, Mercedes as a psychologist, or not psychologist, therapist, I don't know, psychiatrist. Rachel Thompson, she has this, or the author of this one, this is Marshall book, Rachel Thompson. This is a massive book. Like, look how much paper. And it's not even like, here, actually, I have a second camera for this. It's not even like a small book. Like, this is a densely packed, very packed book. I haven't even read it because I'm just like, that's a lot. Like, look how thick that is. It's like when someone writes something like this, you're like, holy flip. How is there so much information? This is actually not as bad. This is probably like size 12 font. anyways, when you talk to people like that, they can just go on, and it's like you have such wonderful conversations because they know it at a professional level. Anyways, Mercedes, I forgot, and I also forgot what this clip is about. So here, well, I'll give you my thoughts after this.
Understand them, or he taught, and then again that comes back to communication, right? And then we talked about CBT, that goes into mind reading. So you totally, and this happens with families, with couples all the time, with kids and their parents, with anything. It's like, I already know, I've been going through this a year, I've been married to this person for, but again, if you approach it the same way, probably you'll get the same result. If you change the way, even a word, even your tone of voice, maybe, and these are the techniques that you learn, you approach it different, you might get a different reaction. I mean, again, it's that percentage, right? I'm like, I know 99% or whatever. Can't really say 100 because nothing is 100%, right? I mean, for the most part. So you're like, even if it's 99.9%, it's how motivated are you to change it? Because you'll take that little percent that's left, right? But if you're not motivated, then no, you're going to continue to do what you do. So your sister texts you in a certain way, again, and you're like, are you all right? I wonder if you responded back and like, interesting. Usually when I read this word, or like, I don't know what, you read this word or like these words, that makes me like concerned or worried, or that makes me like want to talk to you. I'm going to call you. Because again, if you say, are you all right? And she's open with you and she trusts you, she'll be like, no, actually I'm not, or I don't know. But a lot of times that's vulnerability, and someone will be like, I'm fine. It's good.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Typically, I'm not, the first word that's coming to mind is analytical. I'm not that analytical when I look at someone's way of writing. It's more of, here's all the other times. And I know that of course it's text, but it could be tone of voice. Your tone of voice has always been like this when you're genuinely honest about something. But here's something that's different. I don't text my sister back and say, are you feeling all right? I just call her. I don't like straight line, hey, this doesn't look right. And one time she stated that. She was like, why? How did you see that? I didn't even know I was in that state. I was like, I know, you're my sister.
But see, that's the thing, is you said that word, I think, different. That's what is sent that's what cued you to say, wait, and caught your attention, is you noticed the difference. Whatever the difference was, whatever it was a word, or whether it was the length of the text, or whatever it was, the different made you catch the attention. So I would say, you can definitely tell someone, ask them, are they all right? But you call them like, hey, I just called because that was a little different. Sometimes that's just an opening, like for someone to be like, oh, you noticed, and then start talking.
Yeah. There's also the other problem, which is if I don't know the person very well, but I've seen it 1,000 other times, I default to assuming that they are like everyone else.
That's generalization, yes, with CBD. Yeah.
And that's like when I have to shut it down and be like, that's not possible, that this is exactly the same way I've always seen it. It could be, but I haven't established it yet.
So then you take that, again, it's that absolute, like, that's not possible, that it's unlikely because they're a different person. This is a different situation. It's similar in a lot of ways, but the factors that are different is like, even if it's like the time of day or like whatever, it's just finding what and realizing that nothing, really, it's really hard for things to be identical or the same. It could be similar. So then you look and you're like, oh, I'm reacting this way because it's similar. It reminds me of this situation. And then when you get there and be like, okay, but that situation is not this situation because that was back in whatever the day was. And today's a whole different day.
Quick quote to tie everything kind of together. The infinite wonders of the universe are revealed to us in the exact measure of as we are capable of receiving them. The keenness of our vision depends not on how much we see, but on how much we feel. Like there is, and I might have mentioned this in a different episode, there's on one hand, you want people to relate to you, but on the other hand, not everybody's on the receiving mode. They're more of like you could be on the processing mode or the I want to talk about something mode. It's not necessarily so much. Compatibility is usually not the problem. It's usually a timing thing. The story time. A little bit back, or maybe about 2 weeks ago, I was babysitting a dog. Dog sitting? Not really baby. It's a baby. It's a dog. I was talking to my sister because I try to call her as much as I can. And Toby, I can talk about Toby. Toby's been on the podcast. Tim Wallen's second episode. Toby was getting all handsy and like attention needy, and I was trying to take him out for a walk while also putting my shoes on and talking to my sister at the same time. So it's like a 3-way, okay, what do I need? Like planning ahead, plus staying in the present, plus processing what someone else is talking about. So like multiple different things happening at the same time. And I don't know what I said. I just know what I felt I said, which was like, I like basically just told my sister, shut up. And in that situation, I'm on logical mode. I need to get something done, and I'm going to get it done the way I want to get it done. I don't care what you think. That being said, right after I said that with the tone of voice, my sister was like, okay, I'm going to go now. And I was like, okay. Was that probably connected? I'm pretty sure it was. Do I regret doing it? No. One, because she's my sister, so I don't really care. But that's a lie. But two, it's also because I know my sister so well that it's like I'm going to call her anyways next week, or I'll call her 2 weeks from now, and it'll just be the same kind of conversation. So partially exposure, partially familiarity, partially timing, but also partially just understanding. Which actually, that perfectly ties to the next one.
Then learning to respect the agency of those around you is extremely valuable, as opposed to feeling and maybe even being the person that knows best, right? Like you can feel like you know best and still need to you should still possess the ability to take a step back and allow them to go through life as they will, right? And that's one of the difficult things about being, is it your turn or mine?
It's my turn.
Okay, so that's one of the difficult,
for people listening to this on audio, we're playing chess. So there's also like some like, so when we're recording the episode, we're both playing chess. He beats me. Spoiler alert, he beats me like he does because he's good at chess. But the reason why he's kind of slow about his talking and kind of like droning on and like there's these like weird pauses is because he's thinking about the chess game while also trying to think about this, which I just covered, or what I talked about 20 seconds ago.
Good things about being older, having experienced things, like when you watch younger generations, then they will make really stupid decisions sometimes. And it's really difficult to sit back and to bite your tongue and not give unsolicited advice. And if you do give advice, even if they ask you for it, not to be overbearing and too tethered to the result of, hey, are they going to follow your advice or not, right? And that's so difficult. But yeah, so I'll tell you a quick story about that. I'll use myself and my younger brother, because I did this to my uncle as well. So my brother's 3.5 years younger, and I recruited him into the Marine Corps, basically. So my mom was pissed about. She was so fucking mad. But I had been in long enough to see a whole bunch of people get in trouble, and I knew my brother was fucking crazy. So I was just like, all right, well, I know that you're going to drink, although you're not old enough to. I know that you're going to fight people. I know that you're going to do all the crazy shit that you're going to do, because that's who he was. It's like, so put these parameters in place in order to make sure that you don't destroy your career while you do all these things that you're not supposed to do, but you're going to do anyway, right? So I take a list of maybe 10 things, fucking listen to none of them, right? I'm just like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Like, so we sit here talking. He's stationed in California. I think I was in North Carolina at the time. And we would just, we talk, and I find myself getting disappointed based off of the risk that he took. And I'm not gonna tell you everything he did, because I don't want my brother's reputation to be smeared. I'm like, bro, you're fucking crazy. And I remember we went down to New Orleans to visit our dad one day, and we were at a card table. I have 2 cousins on my dad's side, and one of them's around 10 months younger than me, and the other is somewhere to the extent of, I don't know, maybe a year older than my brother. So we're all pretty close in age, if that makes sense. And the younger one, then he ended up we were all drinking, so he ended up having, we'll say, a less than ideal circumstance on the table. He basically vomited all over the table. And we're laughing at him. My dad's there, his mom's there, one of my other uncles is there, another aunt is there. And we were just laughing, and I was making so much fun of him. And then my brother, who drank quite a bit at that point in time, was trying to console him, encourage him, and doing all this stuff. So I called him fucking Dr. Phil. And next thing you know, my brother is like, he said something to the extent of he'll beat my ass. And I don't pay him any attention because we're just drinking, whatever. But after around the fifth or sixth time he said, I'm like, oh, he means this shit. Right? So we get closer and closer. And he's more upset than I am. Like, I'm just thinking he's talking shit. I'm a grown ass man. He's trying to beat my ass. There's only going to be so many ass whoopings that get threatened here. And then afterwards, he said something in the middle of the altercation where he's like, yeah, he's trying to do this like father figure shit. And at that point it clicked. I was like, oh, like not that he cares. He is fatigued with the fact that he thinks that I am being overbearing towards him because I'm always telling him what he should and shouldn't be doing. So he has now turned that into something that he resents me for. And now we're drinking. So my brother wants to beat my ass. I could not continue on basically directing him on what he should and shouldn't be doing. It's just like, okay, at this point I have to realize he's an adult. He has agency. Whatever he does with his life is what he decides to do with his life. And it doesn't alleviate the worry, but it did get me to the point where I understood that, or I developed a perspective. That's a better way of saying it. Is that every person that we have a relationship with in this world, we're going to lose at some point, right? On this life. So I say that to say, what are you looking like that for? Like, is that not accepting? Like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah. What's going on?
Going into saying we're going to lose everybody that we love, and if we're going to lose everybody that we love, then I think that we can take one of two approaches. We can say, I'm going to try and do everything I can to hold on to this person, even if it's at the quote unquote expense of our relationship, right? Because I have to make sure that they do the right thing. I have to make sure he doesn't jeopardize this. I have to make sure whatever, in tough love. And I owe it to them to be open and honest and all these other things, right? Excuse me. Or the approach that I've come to take with people that I care about is let go and let God. And it really is letting go. It's, hey, listen, like, this is my thought process on it, specifically when asked, right? And if someone asks you for advice, that's different. But if there's someone who I care about and I believe that they're being reckless, then it's not that I won't say anything, but I understand they're doing it for a reason and it's their life to live. They have the decisions to make. And if I try to offer some measure of advice or whatever you want to call it, and it's not received well, then I will typically back off due to the fact that I understand that if I continue to push somebody, then like I may jeopardize the relationship with them and lose them. And yeah, and I would rather maybe it's wrong, right? But to a certain extent, I would rather have a really good 10-year relationship with somebody than a really terrible 40 relationship with somebody that I love, if that makes sense.
I was trying to make this into selective emotional reciprocity, which then eventually just got to trust, which now it's more, at this point of the video, it's more towards discretion. Who do you be vulnerable with, and how well you're able to discern your selection in emotional reciprocity. And kind of just because the quote's in my head, it is your duty not to complain of that part which you have lost, but to return thanks for that which you have enjoyed. But, say you, it may have lasted longer. Supposing you were given your choice, to be happy for a short time or not at all. It is better to enjoy pleasures which soon leave us than to enjoy none at all. You want someone to reciprocate it, they might not reciprocate it. But there will be someone who wants to reciprocate it. I don't know who. Don't even know who you are. There's someone who wants to reciprocate it. There's someone who wants to be there for you. Do they communicate it? Probably not. Between what is said and not meant and what is meant but not said, most of love is lost. So, for whatever reason, a lot of these solo episodes are probably just going to be based off of love and somehow ties to love. Anyways, on that tangent, 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not brag. Is not proud. Does not behave itself inappropriately. Does not seek its own way. Is not provoked. Takes no account of evil. Does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. Bears all things. Believes all things. Hopes all things. And endures all things. Love never fails. So why do we crave emotional reciprocity? Because we're human. Because we want the connections, but we don't want to openly trust people. And it's not even that we don't openly want to trust people, but rather we've been hurt by either ourselves or by other people who weren't as emotionally intelligent as they should have been. Like I could give you 3 examples of people who are around the 30 year, actually 4, 5. I can give you 5 examples of someone who's very successful in their career and yet doesn't seem to be able to have the peace that they want. I have another who looks like they're about to like do hard drugs, even though it doesn't seem like they should. I know another who can't let go of their past, and yet they still make the same mistakes and still have the same attitude as if everyone's going to criticize them. I know another who has lost so much financially, and yet you look at them and they're like, you have such great potential. And I know another one who's like, you should be better, but you're as dumb as a rock. Like, a couple of those people I've done episodes with, so I don't want to, I'm trying to keep it all gender neutral. So it's like, you can't figure out who I'm talking about. Although if I'm talking about you, you probably know, and you're probably going to hate me. I don't care. My point is, there are so many options. One, it's a numbers game. The more people you meet, the more people you interact with, the more people you're vulnerable with, the more you can trust those people. But at the same time, love deeply, love wisely. You want the emotional reciprocity? Make sure you don't just give it to everyone. And those who do, don't let them go. There's going to be a time when they're gone. There's going to be a time when they're not in your life anymore. Don't let them go. Oh, well, that's life. Life will happen. Life happens because life happens. But there's also the duality of appreciation, gratitude, acceptance that you can't control everything, and you don't want to be the one who's always hoping for more, hoping that someone will reciprocate. But there's also the thing is initiation, and it's like, oh, I always initiate. I always do this. I always having the desire to not always initiate, to have someone else initiate for you, to feel chosen, which I actually have an episode working on. There's the desire to be chosen and the desire to choose. I want something, but I also want it to choose me back. I want the reciprocity that I'm hoping to expect. And the thing is, and this is the worst part of it, there's no way of saying, if I stop, it's going to come back, or if I start, it's going to come back. Reciprocity is conditional. If someone wanted to, they would, because when I wanted to, I did. I don't know how else to phrase it. It's just like hope, desire, the duality of hope and suffering, which I want to get to. There's so many episodes I want to do. But for the most part, I want to keep this simple as possible. Just do it, I guess, would be my thing. Like the final thought I want to give. Just do it. Like, you won't regret trying, but you will regret not doing anything. Also, I've got a lot of acai, and that's a lot of sugar, so I'm going to stop before I keep going on random tangents. Love you guys. Or not really. I don't know who you are. Nah, I still love you. Or not. Or I do. I don't know. Hippopotamus.